Points right now. I talk about housing all the time here because I really do think that housing has to turn in order for this economy to truly turn. Sure, we have a stock market that had the best first quarter we've seen in a really long time, but I don't think Main Street is feeling it. I just don't. Maybe because I'm not feeling it at home. I just presume nobody else is too, but I could be wrong. But there's a huge amount of foreclosures on the market, and maybe getting rid of them will help this housing market once and for all. Adam Bailey's with us right now, author of Finding the Uncommon Deal. Tons of foreclosures coming to market these days, aren't there?
Actually, not enough are coming to market.
Why not enough?
Because it's an election year. If we flood the market with foreclosures and there's a lot of supply, there's a lot of houses to buy from, what's going to happen to prices? They're going to go down. So the administration and Congress and everybody running for office does not want too many homes on the market because your home will be worth less.
So you're saying they're controlling the amount of foreclosures that are coming to market?
It's artificial control with a steroid.
How? Because we saw it controlled during the robo-signing deal.
Yes.
And that was supposed to be over.
It's continuing. The robo-signing deal, there's now a settlement, which is more like window dressing.
Right.
Where you're helping people that can't pay their mortgages and rewarding them, which makes no sense to me.
Right.
But that's a different story. So now you have a pipe that's glutted, and it can't move out. And the reason it can't move out is because there's millions of foreclosures that are not being sold. So what's the only way to keep the market where your house is worth the same as it was 4 years ago or close to it, only 30% less? What you do is the new administration plan is to sell many of these homes in 3 states, Chicago, Atlanta, and Los Angeles, and
rent them.
No, they're going to sell them in bulk, so those people can't live in them. They're going to rent them.
Right.
That will then keep the market the sales market from artificially coming down.
Well, that's not going to work at the end of the day.
It's still holding. You're still holding back the economy, the housing economy, at least 5 to 10 years.
Okay, so what are you telling people to do right now? Are you telling people to go buy foreclosed homes?
Oh, fantastic! It's a fantastic opportunity. One of the best opportunities in the market. This is the greatest time in our history of the world to buy a home.
I agree with you, but I also know that, especially myself, I have 3 kids. If I'm moving, I don't have the time frame required to deal with the administrative BS behind buying a foreclosed property.
Correct, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's very complicated, and you could lose your shirt very easily. So you got to know what you're doing. You got to basically make it at least a 20-hour-a-week job or 10 hours a week over a few months. You got to really become an expert on foreclosures. Go to a couple of auctions. First, become an expert in the market. Know what a price you go for. Then you're going to get a list of homes that are in foreclosure. You got to go visit them. But most of the time, you can't get inside. So then what do? Well, then you're guessing that the repairs that you're going to have to use on it aren't too great. You got to make sure there's no liens on the property.
Which is a guess. It's a big gamble.
It's a guess. Then you have the problem with liens, whereby there may be liens in the house that aren't taken care of yet, and you may be responsible for those. So you need to run a lien search.
So you can run a lien search?
You can run a lien search.
How?
Any escrow title company Northeast, West, Midwest, they call it escrow companies, they will run a search for you for very cheap and tell you what kind of liens are on a property.
Okay, so wait, let's back up a little bit. So I want to buy a foreclosed property in North Jersey. I know what the homes go for.
You're an expert on in a small area of the home.
Right.
Good. Okay,
Pick a county. I picked a county.
Pick a county.
Okay, so I'm in a county in New Jersey, and I start to look at homes. First of all, how do I get a listing of all the foreclosed homes?
Well, you don't. You're going to be reading the newspapers where they have to publish them. You're going to be visiting the courthouses. But a better way than that is by visiting your local courthouse.
Yeah.
And then there's something called in New Jersey notice of pendency. In other states, lis pendens. And every time there's a lis pendens filed, you know a foreclosure is involved. And it's putting the world on notice that there's going to be a foreclosure auction. The interest in a property is affected. So you can go to that courthouse, and then you're going to get a list of all the properties that are in foreclosure.
Is it I mean, I've never been to one. Is it a real auction, like going once, going twice kind of thing?
Yes, but there's two kinds of foreclosures. There's pre-foreclosure, then there's the actual auction. The actual auction is going to be published in a newspaper. You're going to go to the auction, you're going to bid. You got to bring 5 to 10% in certified funds to the auction, and you got to get ready to rock and roll.
But that differs state to state, because if I'm not mistaken, Florida, you got to bring 20%.
It depends on the auction. In fact, when you see the notice in a newspaper or on the courthouse steps on the county wall or anywhere else you heard about it from a friend, there's going to be different rules.
So it'll tell you how much money you need.
They're going to tell you that the minimum bid is X, and you know because you're an expert in the market how much you're willing to spend on that house.
Now, does it have to be cash?
No, you are going to bring certified checks in very small amounts because if you don't want to overpay.
Sure.
So if you bring $20,000 and you're spending $100, you've overpaid. You want to bring certified checks in $1,000 to $5,000 so you don't give too much to the auctioneer.
Oh my God,
at the
it's like
closing.
your own play money is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a game.
Total. Now,
Poker.
Is it worth? It's probably worth going to some of these auctions and just standing back and watching for a while.
Yes, you need to go to several because a lot of times there's a club there. These are experts doing it every day. But you're better than them because they're buying in bulk. Every time. You're finding a home you know is in foreclosure. You already visited. You knocked on the door. You made friends with the neighbor. You brought chocolate or flowers. You were allowed inside, which none of those other people at the auction were allowed inside that auction. You were allowed inside. Maybe even brought your engineer. Maybe maybe the seller or the person getting foreclosed on told you some of the problems with the unit.
But you're saying that people should go. I mean, I understand it's worth it financially, but this is for my primary residence.
Your primary residence.
I should go through this exercise.
Because remember, these are at foreclosure auctions. They're not on the market. The whole world doesn't get to see them. Very few people have the time or the energy or the expertise to go to a foreclosure sale. If you're one of those, you're probably going to get a better deal than anyone else on the market. The best deals in the world are at foreclosure auctions. The second best deals are pre-foreclosure auctions.
What's that?
That's where the foreclosure action started, but it hasn't finished.
Means the bank is starting to foreclose on my
property. The bank
property.
is starting to foreclose. The person now realizes they have to sell. You want to buy it from the person selling with cooperation of the bank, and then you're also going to get a really good deal usually.
Now, oftentimes these are they could be short sales too.
That is a short sale.
Right.
That's now a word where that pre-foreclosure is going to become a short sale.
Right. So short sales, again, come back to the administrative nonsense, could take forever.
In fact, the buyer may change their mind.
Yes.
The bank may give them modification and walk away. But this is not buying a car or a house. I mean, I'm sorry, this is not buying a car or clothing. This is the biggest investment of your life where you may be living in for 30 years. You may your kids may inherit this property. This is worth the time. It's a house. It's a property. It's worth the time of reading a book like mine or someone else's and becoming an expert and then being aggressive and going after the best home for the lowest price. It's worth it. This is a home, the American dream.
Do you think then that once the election passes, we will see more foreclosed homes out there?
That's a great question. Will the election affect how the administration acts?
Right.
Well, the problem with this election is there's always another election short term.
That is the problem with our system.
But if the President of the United States and Congress decides we want to do what's good for America, then they will realize what's best for America is to let the free market reign, push the foreclosures out, let the market fall as it's going to fall, and then we'll be sooner to that promised land where the market's back to normal, and we could see people that can afford homes buying them, and then our economy actually, if our economy improves, we're actually going to have a pretty decent market out there.
But we should have seen that, 6 months ago.
No,
2 years
it's
ago.
impossible. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have taken from our federal tax dollars $121 billion since the start of the crisis. $121 billion.
Yes.
That's taxpayer money.
To bail them out.
That's just to bail them out
Right.
and keep the foreclosures out of the system so your home value is higher. So if you're going to buy a home, it's only decreased a third
But
instead of 7%.
why was that worth it, that $128 billion?
It wasn't. It's ridiculous.
So what I'm saying is we should have allowed the market to purge 2 years ago.
Right, but the consumers are uneducated. There aren't enough programs on TV educating the consumer because it's very complicated on what's wrong with the housing market. And thank God Fox News is doing so.
Thank God is right. All right, let me ask you this. I decide I'm going to do this. I got to give myself a ballpark, right? I got kids, I got a family.
You're in New Jersey.
Let's go back to Jersey. How long would this take me to figure out?
Well, let's first remember the hand's got to fit the glove.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson.
Yeah. Right,
okay?
I understand.
Okay, so you are buying it for a primary residence in New Jersey.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, you got to give yourself a long time. First, you're going to go shopping.
What's a long time?
Ready? You're going to go shopping. How long is it? How many hours can you spend a week going shopping, looking for houses that you want to buy, just in a regular market?
And you're just saying go out there, look at regular.
You got to become an expert.
Yeah.
You need to become an expert, just like if you're buying a home on the general market.
Okay, so based on what you're saying, easy 6 months, maybe a year.
Okay, so that's fine. Remember, this is something you may be living in 30 months.
I'm saying start to finish, a year.
It could be 30 days, depending on how well you get. If you don't have this job and you're full time looking in the market, you may be ready in 30 days. You know, because by the way, the inventory is not that great because there's so many foreclosures, so many foreclosed homes, so many homes not on the market that the inventory isn't great.
You know, I'm like, it intrigues me, and I actually know the housing market pretty well in my area. I would love to go to an auction just like for kicks.
It's fun. It's exciting. You're bidding. It's like going to the racetrack or Atlantic City or Las Vegas. It's fun.
And you're saying though that there are groups of professionals
that do this for a living, but they're
going to make a killing when this market turns.
No, they're making a killing now because if you're getting 1 or 2% in your savings account, these people are getting at least 10 to 20% off of renting these places or flipping them. They're renting or flipping. So they're making a killing. They've always done well. They continue to do well. It's a great business to get into. You
know, speaking of renting, I think one of the things that people are missing, and again, this is not easy to do by any stretch. You're making it sound, I think, much easier than
it's actually very difficult, but if you, honestly, you read this book, you spend the time, you're aggressive, you're smart, you know what you want, you can do it.
But one of the calculations, I don't mean to cut you off, that you can do, and that is very simple, is that renting versus buying a foreclosed property, it is blatantly different because rental prices are on the rise. So people are paying way more to rent than they can to purchase.
Well, that's the key. You know the market's coming back when it costs more to rent than it does to buy.
But that's only a foreclosure. That's not a regularly priced property.
Well, all properties. In other words, as soon as it costs more rent to buy, then all those people that think renting's really cool are going to want to buy. So that's step number one for our market. It's not going to happen until we're done with the steroids, we're done with the artificial stuff, and we're done with paying taxpayer money just to keep foreclosures off the market. So, then you're an expert in the market. Your next step is you need to find out, you're reading the right paper or going to the right courthouse to find out which properties are going into foreclosure. You now have your list. You're going to go check them out. Now, you can't enter their property. It's trespassing. It's illegal. So what do? Well, you're going to knock on the door anyway and try to meet the owner. Or you're going to bring an expert, like an engineer, around the house to look outside. How does that roof look? You can see a lot from the outside. Or their neighbors may know things. You know,
but then you also have to be liquid. You need cash.
Right. Well, remember, you only need 10 to 20%. 5, 10, or 20%
of the auction price.
Of the auction price. The problem is once you pay that money, it's very strict guidelines of when you have to close, when you actually have to buy the home. It's quick, and you got to have your loan lined up. So your mortgage broker or your banker that you're getting a loan from should be called the minute you start looking.
Right.
Don't go shopping
you got to have the liquidity to put down at auction, and you really should have the loan secured.
Don't go shopping unless you know how much you have to spend. Call a mortgage broker, call an expert that gives out loans. Find out first if you qualify. And once you know you qualify, how much do you have to spend, and what's your range, and what are you most importantly comfortable with? What if you lose your job? Make sure even after paying a 20% or 10%, make sure that you have savings in case something goes wrong.
Because we know what happened, and then it starts the whole thing all over again. Adam Bailey, read his book, Finding the Uncommon Deal. There it is. You make it sound easy. I know it's not, but I think it is something worth exploring.
I think it's a wonderful way to get the best deal in the world.
Do you own foreclosed properties?
I do.
Of course you do. Adam Bailey.
But I have tenants in them.
Okay, that's okay.
So
soon enough, your tenants are going to realize
it's fantastic investments.
All right, well, come back in a couple months and tell us how it's going.
I'll be happy to come back whenever you want me.
Adam, you're great.
Adam Bailey. I want an update on what you're doing in New Jersey.
I'm living. I own a home.
Okay, got it.